Imagine how powerful you would feel if you knew that you had access to divine intelligence for every step of your day. Divine intelligence from your ancestors, angels, spirit guides, deities, and high vibrational spirits. How would you feel? Guess what? You do. And if you want to know how to harness your alchemy energy like the goddess Nefertiti, stay tuned. So listen, if this is your first time here, let me tell you who I am. I am Regal Essence. I am Queen TV. I am Queen TV After Dark. I am Life is a Love Goddess. I am Life is a Laid Back Mom. I'm your ray of sunshine in the afternoon time. I'm your crystal healer and dealer. I'm your past life princess, and I'm somebody's ABA therapist and pre-K teacher, y'all. So let's get into this. So I am coming to you guys with another goddess as a part of our goddess series. So listen, let me tell you a little bit about my personas and why it is that I show up the way that I do. I am looking to create a community of like-minded people who are looking to heal, grow, transform, and ultimately become the highest version of themselves. Okay, so if that sounds like you, make sure you subscribe to all my platforms. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm here on TikTok. I have 3 pages on TikTok. So if you're a hair girly, check out my It's Regal Baby page. I will drop the handles in the comments below. And if you want to find out more about my fitness journey, my beauty hacks, and all of that good silliness, my foodie blogs, my travel blogs, check out my Tiffany London page, Palladian Housewife. Okay, so also you guys save, comment, subscribe. Let's get to know each other in the comments. Okay, I don't know why people be dropping me that comment that say free. I still don't know what that means. So let's get to know each other in the comments. All right, so let's get into it. So the Temple of the Queen comes to bring us the energy of intuition, alchemy, dreams, alignment, and imagination. Okay, so we are learning how to embody those energies within our everyday lives, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about alchemy, what that means, how the goddess Nefertiti helps us with alchemy, and then I'm also going to get into a little bit of a story time about how it is I alchemize some of my darkest times into the personas that you see today. So goddesses that I'm going to be talking about will bring you an energy of healing and being able to fight for the power of healing. That is beautiful to know that we're not just out here trying to figure this out alone. We actually have goddesses and goddess energies that are here to assist us as we go throughout our spiritual journey if we are cognizant and recognize and harness their energy and utilize their energies, okay? Nefertiti, let's talk about it. So her message to us is, you have turned everything that was thrown your way into gold. Your beauty is eternal, honey, and so is your life force. Live life fully. Your joy and pleasure expand your consciousness, okay? So you want to think of Goddess Nefertiti as, if you grew up in the Christian community, you know the scripture that goes a little something like, he will give you beauty for ashes. Also the God that wants to remind you everything you touch turns to gold, okay? So that is basically alchemy. When you turn bad situations into good situations, right? So in Egypt, gods and goddesses, royalty were considered gods and goddesses. She led a spiritual revolution by convincing her husband, Pharaoh Imhotep. Now, also a fun fact about their relationship, they were considered equal. So they went against the social norms as it relates to king and queen, because they were both considered equal versus the man being considered more powerful than the woman. They were instrumental in a time where they were switching over the gods that they were worshiping. So they went from, let me read this so I can get it right. Together they changed Egypt to the monotheistic religion of atheism. They even changed their names to honor Aten. Roofs were open so that Aten was worshipped in the sunlight instead of in dark closed temples, where Ra and the old sun god was a personification of the sun. Aten was the sun disk, meaning the visual sun itself, okay? So, like the sun, Queen Nefertiti represents divine power, sacred beauty, and the capacity of joy. As she lived during Asia's most richest period in time, opulence and pleasure were her domain. She had 6 daughters, and 2 became queen during her reign. She and her daughters took on the role of the fertility, sexuality, and rebirth goddesses. The energy of rebirth is connected to the sun. Okay, so those of you who feel as if you have been drawn to Queen Nefertiti, or you feel as if you are tied to Queen Nefertiti in some way, these are all areas that you will thrive in. Okay, all right, so let's talk a little bit about alchemy. Now, alchemy is bending universal energy the same way that a rainbow will bend the light to create the visual of the rainbow, right? Alchemy is creating something out of nothing. And how do we do that? Let me give you guys a little trick. This is what you need to remember. Everything that you need already exists. You just need to invite them in. You need to find ways to invite those things into your life. So how do you do that? Okay, so say for instance, you want to be a happy person. How does that feel? How does it feel to be happy? You want to feel loved. How does it feel to be loved? How does it feel to be loved unconditional? How does it feel to have love without limits? You want to ask yourself those things. What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? You want to get into that vibration, okay? Because all things that you're manifesting is tied to something that you love, right? So you need to get into that love frequency. All right, let me make sure I didn't forget anything. Vision boards, and why vision boards are so important, because oftentimes some of us manifest best by seeing it. Seeing it every day helps us bring it into our reality. So say if you're not a visual person, what does your dream sound like? What is the vibration of it? What does it sound like? Okay, I want you to remember this affirmation, right? We live one wild and magical life, and it deserves your full attention. So let's start off with be, do, and have. Who do you have to be in order to have what it is that you desire? That's a very good question, right? So that leads me to the next segment. A little bit of a personal story time about myself, right? Now, I am a prime example of alchemy, okay? So, about 5 years ago, I came into contact knowingly, like spiritually knowingly, came into contact with a soulmate. Now, I believe that we come into contact with soulmates multiple times throughout our lives, but depending on where you are spiritually will depend on how it is that you're affected by that soulmate relationship. So I was just coming into my spiritual awakening, so I was very open to this connection, and it felt like nothing I had ever experienced. Okay, so we're inseparable for, okay, I ain't even gonna tell y'all how long, but we was inseparable. And then ultimately, he was one of those people, and I joke about it now, he was one of those people that call women queen, right? So he would always call me queen. And I was going through a metamorphosis of sorts, right? So I did feel as if the name fit me. So I started to feel into the name. So long story short, the relationship ended tragically. Which ultimately threw me into my dark night of the soul. And that is, I feel like, the beginning of my spiritual awakening. Okay, so listen, let me tell you how I alchemized the situation. I am now Regal Essence Queen TV. Regal Essence was a name that I had back in 2014 whenever I started a hair company. I added the Regal Essence, I added the Queen, and I'm now Queen TV, right? 5 years later, I have become known for something that if I would have allowed the relationship to leave me so traumatized that I didn't take certain motivations, inspirations, or certain positive things from the relationship, I may not have created this beautiful, amazing persona that you see that sits before you today, right? So I believe that that is taking something, creating something out of nothing, because ultimately when the relationship ended tragically, there was nothing left but a lot of heartbreak and tears. But ultimately I took that feeling, that energy that I felt at the time when things were good, and I created a persona which led me to create other personas which I present to you today. Why do I have different personas? Because there's so many different sides of me, and depending on how it is that I want to show up, it depends on who it is that you get. So yeah, this is your Nefertiti affirmation. Everything that I touch turns to gold. So yeah, do me a favor, share this video with your friends, comment. Like I said, let's get to know each other in the comment section. Save this video, subscribe, click the link in my bio. It should have the link, my link tree should have the link to all of my platforms, my TikTok shop, my Amazon, so y'all can buy. I got a wish list, my storefronts, anything that I got off of Amazon. So yeah, remember, I love you.